The stadium had never felt so quiet. Not because Brazil had won, not because the fans had stopped singing, but because, for the final time, one of the greatest players to ever wear the famous yellow shirt walked away knowing the dream was over. Neymar looked around the stadium one last time. He had carried this badge for 16 years. He had celebrated unforgettable victories, endured crushing defeats, broken records, and inspired millions. Yet as he slowly disappeared down the tunnel, one question lingered in the hearts of Brazilian fans. How do you spend 16 years carrying the hopes of an entire football nation and still leave with a broken heart? To answer that question, we have to travel back to the beginning. The year was 2010. Brazil was still hurting from its World Cup exit in South Africa. A nation that measured success in world titles wasn't interested in excuses. It wanted a new hero. Someone who could restore the joy, flair, and confidence that had defined generations of Brazilian football. That hero arrived sooner than anyone expected. At just 18 years old, Neymar da Silva Santos Jr. had become the brightest young talent in Brazil. Playing for Santos, the club where Pelé became a legend, he dazzled crowds with fearless dribbling, outrageous skill moves, and a smile that reminded fans why they fell in love with football in the first place. He wasn't just winning matches, he was entertaining an entire country. Brazil's new head coach, Mano Menezes, saw what everyone else saw. The future had arrived. On August 10, 2010, Neymar stepped onto the pitch for his senior debut against the United States. For most teenagers, wearing Brazil's iconic yellow shirt would have been overwhelming. For Neymar, it was the moment he had dreamed about since childhood. 28 minutes into the match, André Santos delivered a cross into the penalty area. Neymar timed his run perfectly, rose above the defenders, and powered a header into the back of the net. Goal! On his debut. The celebration wasn't extravagant, it was pure joy. His teammates embraced him, the supporters erupted, and millions watching across Brazil allowed themselves to believe again. This wasn't just another promising youngster. This was the player who might lead Brazil back to the top of world football. But international football is different from club football. Every touch is judged. Every mistake becomes a headline. Every victory raises expectations even higher. Neymar learned that lesson quickly. In 2011, he traveled to Argentina for his first Copa America. Brazil arrived as one of the favorites, and many expected their new star to dominate the tournament. Instead, the campaign ended in disappointment. Brazil struggled to find rhythm and were knocked out by Paraguay after a dramatic penalty shootout in the quarterfinals. For the first time in his international career, Neymar experienced the unforgiving nature of representing Brazil. Critics questioned whether he was ready to lead the national team. Others urged patience, reminding everyone that he was still only 19 years old. Neymar chose not to answer with words. He answered the only way he knew how, by working harder, playing with freedom, and refusing to let one setback define him. He believed the best moments of his Brazil story were still ahead. And soon, an entire nation would believe it too. If 2011 taught Neymar how painful defeat could be, 2012 reminded him that wearing Brazil's shirt meant living with expectations that never disappeared. Every tournament carried the same question. Could this be the beginning of Brazil's return to greatness? The answer seemed closer than ever when Brazil arrived at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Although Olympic football is an under-23 competition with a few senior players, the pressure on Brazil was immense. One remarkable fact haunted the nation. Despite winning 5 FIFA World Cups, Brazil had never won an Olympic gold medal in men's football. For Neymar, this was more than another tournament. It was a chance to erase the disappointment of the Copa America and prove he could lead his country on the biggest stages. From the opening match, he looked determined. His pace terrified defenders. His dribbling brought crowds to their feet. More importantly, he embraced responsibility. He scored goals, created chances, and inspired a talented Brazilian side that marched confidently to the final. Standing between Brazil and history was Mexico. Millions back home expected the perfect ending. Instead, football delivered another painful lesson. Just 29 seconds into the match, Mexico stunned Brazil with an early goal. Brazil spent the rest of the game chasing the equalizer, but every attack seemed to end in frustration. When the final whistle blew, Mexico had won 2-1. Brazil's wait for Olympic gold continued. Neymar collected his silver medal with disappointment written across his face. Once again, he had come close, but close wasn't enough for a country obsessed with victory. Many players would have allowed 2 painful tournaments to shake their confidence. Neymar did the opposite. He returned stronger. Over the next year, he continued to shine for Santos while growing into Brazil's undisputed leader. His performances became more mature. He wasn't simply entertaining anymore. He was deciding matches. Every time he wore the yellow shirt, supporters could feel something special beginning to grow. If you're enjoying this journey through Neymar's incredible career with Brazil, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Then came the summer of 2013. Brazil hosted the FIFA Confederations Cup, a tournament many dismissed as merely a rehearsal for the following year's World Cup. But inside Brazil, it felt much bigger. The world champions, Spain, arrived unbeaten in competitive football for years. Their tiki-taka style had conquered Europe and the world. Most experts believed Spain would leave Brazil with another trophy. Neymar had other ideas. From the opening match, he electrified the tournament. He scored spectacular goals, thrilled fans with fearless dribbling, and played with a confidence that spread through the entire squad. Every performance seemed to send the same message: Brazil were back. The final against Spain became the defining night of Neymar's young international career. Inside the legendary Maracanã Stadium, Brazil didn't just defeat the reigning world champions, they overwhelmed them. Fred opened the scoring early. Neymar doubled the lead with a stunning finish just before halftime. His celebration captured the emotion of an entire nation, arms spread wide, roaring with pride as the stadium erupted around him. When Fred added a third goal after the break, Brazil completed a remarkable 3-0 victory. The final whistle sounded. Confetti filled the air. Supporters sang louder than ever. Neymar was named the tournament's best player. At only 21 years old, he had become the face of Brazilian football. For the first time since the golden generation of Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, and Kaká, Brazil truly believed it had found its next leader. But with that belief came an even greater burden. Because in just 1 year's time, the FIFA World Cup would return to Brazilian soil. The country wasn't hoping Neymar could win it. The country expected him to. And no one, not Neymar, not his teammates, not the millions who filled the streets in yellow, could have imagined how that dream would unravel in the most heartbreaking way imaginable. By the summer of 2014, Brazil wasn't simply hosting the FIFA World Cup. It was carrying the weight of history. 64 years had passed since the heartbreak of the 1950 World Cup final at the Maracanã. 5 world titles had made Brazil the most successful football nation on earth. But playing at home meant there was only one acceptable ending: lift the trophy. And standing at the center of that dream was a 22-year-old Neymar. Every billboard carried his face. Every child wore his shirt. Every newspaper asked the same question: could Neymar bring the 6th star home? The opening match against Croatia brought both nerves and relief. After Brazil fell behind, Neymar responded the way great players often do. He demanded the ball, drove at defenders, and scored twice to inspire a 3-1 comeback victory. The nation exhaled. Against Cameroon, he did it again. 2 more goals. Brazil advanced to the knockout stage, and Neymar had already scored 4 times. He wasn't just Brazil's top scorer, he was its heartbeat. Every attack seemed to flow through him. Every celebration reminded fans why they believed this World Cup belonged to him. The round of 16 against Chile tested Brazil like never before. After a tense 1-1 draw, the match went to penalties. Neymar stepped forward to take Brazil's final kick. He never looked away. He calmly sent the goalkeeper the wrong way before collapsing to his knees in tears. It wasn't a celebration of victory. It was the release of unbearable pressure. But the hardest test was still to come. In the quarterfinal against Colombia, Brazil fought for every ball. The match was physical, tense, and emotionally draining. Then, in the 88th minute, everything changed. As Neymar chased a loose ball, Colombia's Juan Camilo Zuniga jumped into his back with a knee. Neymar fell instantly. He couldn't stand. He couldn't walk. He was carried off the pitch in tears. Hours later, doctors confirmed the devastating news: a fractured vertebra. His World Cup was over. Across Brazil, the celebrations stopped. Children cried. Fans gathered outside hospitals hoping for better news that would never come. The boy chosen to lead Brazil to glory could only watch from the sidelines. 4 days later came one of the darkest nights in football history. Without Neymar and suspended captain Thiago Silva, Brazil faced Germany in the semifinal. Supporters still believed their team could somehow find a way. Instead, they witnessed a nightmare. Germany scored once, then twice, then 5 times before halftime. When the final whistle finally arrived, the scoreboard read 7-1. It wasn't just a defeat, it was a wound that would stay with Brazil for generations. As fans wept inside the Mineirão, cameras found Neymar watching helplessly from the stands. He couldn't change the result. He couldn't help his teammates. All he could do was share their pain. Many wondered whether Brazil's fate would have been different had he stayed fit. No one can answer that question. But one thing was certain: the smiling young superstar who had entered the tournament carrying hope left it carrying heartbreak. Many players would never recover from such an experience. Neymar refused to let it define him. He disappeared from the spotlight, focused on healing, and quietly prepared for another opportunity to make history. Because fate had one more chance waiting for him. 2 years later, in front of his own people once again, Neymar would walk onto another pitch with Brazil's badge on his chest. This time, the ending would be different. This time, redemption was finally within reach. As Neymar left the 2014 World Cup behind, he made himself a promise. He would return, not just to wear Brazil's shirt again, but to give his country a reason to smile. That opportunity arrived 2 years later at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. Once again, Brazil carried enormous expectations. Despite its rich football history, the nation had never won an Olympic gold medal in men's football. The pressure was immense. This time, Neymar wasn't just Brazil's biggest star, he was its captain. The tournament tested Brazil from the very beginning, but as the knockout rounds arrived, so did Neymar's brilliance. His leadership inspired a talented squad all the way to the final against Germany, the same nation that had humiliated Brazil 7-1 just 2 years earlier. For many Brazilians, this wasn't just another final, it was a chance to heal. After 120 tense minutes, the match went to penalties. Neymar stepped forward to take the final kick. He struck the ball into the corner. Goal. The Maracanã exploded with emotion. Neymar fell to the ground in tears before being buried beneath celebrating teammates. Brazil had finally won its first Olympic gold medal in men's football. For one unforgettable night, the pain of 2014 seemed to disappear. But football has a cruel way of testing even its greatest stars. 2 years later, Brazil arrived in Russia for the 2018 FIFA World Cup with renewed hope. Neymar had recovered from a serious foot injury just in time for the tournament. Although he produced moments of brilliance and helped Brazil reach the quarterfinals, their journey ended with a 2-1 defeat to Belgium. Another dream was over. In 2019, injury denied Neymar the chance to play in the Copa America on home soil. Ironically, Brazil went on to win the tournament without him. For some critics, it became another reason to question his legacy. For Neymar, it was simply another chapter of frustration. He refused to walk away. Instead, he continued chasing history. In September 2023, during a World Cup qualifier against Bolivia, Neymar scored twice to surpass Pelé and become Brazil's all-time leading men's goalscorer. It was a record many believed would stand forever. Yet even that historic achievement couldn't silence the one question that had followed him throughout his career. Where was the World Cup? Then came Qatar in 2022. Once again, Brazil looked capable of ending its long wait for a 6th title. In the quarterfinal against Croatia, Neymar produced a moment worthy of his extraordinary talent, weaving through the defense to score deep into extra time. It should have been the winning goal. Instead, Croatia equalized just minutes later before eliminating Brazil in a penalty shootout. As Neymar collapsed to the pitch in tears, the image became one of the defining moments of the tournament. Still, he wasn't finished. After a long battle with injuries, Neymar returned for one final World Cup in 2026. At 34 years old, he knew this would likely be his last chance to achieve the dream that had defined his international career. Under Carlo Ancelotti, Brazil entered the tournament hoping experience and talent could finally end the country's long wait for another world title. Instead, heartbreak struck once again. Brazil suffered a shocking 2-1 defeat to Norway in the round of 16. Neymar scored a stoppage time penalty, but it wasn't enough to change the result. It marked Brazil's earliest World Cup exit since 1990. After the final whistle, Neymar stood motionless before breaking down in tears. His journey had come full circle. In the same stadium where he had scored on his Brazil debut 16 years earlier, he played what would become his final match for the Seleção. Speaking afterward, he said, I tried. Now it's over. I started here and I finished here." He left the national team as Brazil's all-time leading men's goalscorer with a Confederations Cup title, Olympic gold, unforgettable moments, and the admiration of millions. So, how do you carry the hopes of an entire football nation for 16 years and still leave with a broken heart? Perhaps the answer is this. Some players are remembered because they win every trophy. Others are remembered because they give everything they have, even when the ending isn't the one they dreamed of. Neymar never delivered the 6th World Cup star Brazil longed for, but he gave his country unforgettable memories, breathtaking football, and 16 years of unwavering commitment. Sometimes greatness isn't measured only by the trophy you lift. Sometimes it's measured by the hope you inspire. Thank you for watching. If this story reminded you why football is called the beautiful game, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with another football fan. Subscribe to Football in Minutes for more incredible football stories.